Okay, I think we're just gonna kick off with a huge kind of weird welcome to both who are here, all of you who is here today, but also to people online. So this is the first time we're doing something like this. That's why I'm stuttering in embarrassment because I'm not sure who I'm supposed to be talking to, but we'll make yeah. I just walk out anyway. So hi guys, huge welcome to people online as well. Marcus is saying hello, as you can see. So this year, because last year all the events were online, and I think the series was a real success. People were coming from across the pond and the continent and various places. We've decided to do something like this, a sort of a hybrid medium with James's help, who was just here. So this is what we are going to be doing all year round, unless we have to go completely online again. But it does not mean that you shouldn't try and turn up. We'll try and make it as safe as possible. So before I introduce the three writers who generously said yes to this reading and to kick off the poetry series, just a couple of announcements. The next, maybe I'm just gonna for now say that the next reading is here this time next week, except it's a Wednesday. So it's gonna be like I don't like using the word postgraduate showcase because Harriet Tarlo, who's here and we'll be reading, is also running an Emily Hallam postgraduate showcase at the same time. So it's not quite the same, but we are kind of doing the competition. But more on the series. What? Maybe we should match them. Yeah. Why not? Anyway, we can talk about that now. This room is booked. So anyway, so let's just dive into the readings and the writers who are here today. We will have an hour and 20 minutes reading by the three writers without breaks. So kind of shortish readings, about 20 minutes by each poet. Whom I'm going to introduce now. The first poet who is going to be reading is Angelina D'Roza, who lives in Sheffield. Her first collection, Envies the Birds, was published in 2016 by Longbarrow Press and was followed by her pamphlet Correspondences in 2019, and that's also Longbarrow, as far as I know. And then Angelina is working on a new collection, which is forthcoming from Longbarrow in the autumn 2022. So this time next year, hopefully, it will be out. The second reader is someone very dear to us. Adam Piette is a professor of modern literature here at the University of Sheffield. He's the co-editor of the International Contemporary Poetry Journal, Blackbox Manifold, and he co-edits it with Alex Houen. His critical work is like huge over by now, includes Remembering and the Sounds of Words, kind of studies on Mallarmé, Proust, Joyce and Beckett. Imagination at War, again studies on British fiction and poetry between 39 and 45, and Literary Cold War, that's focusing on literature between 45 to Vietnam. He edited a special issue of Translation and Literature on Modernism and Translation, the sort companion to Peter Robinson's with Katie Price in 2007. But also the Edinburgh companion to 20th century British and American war literature with Mark Rawlinson in 2012. And he's currently working on poetry, and the poems will be published and are forthcoming in various journals, for example, Stand, Adjacent Pineapple, and also elsewhere. And the third poet today is Harriet Tarlo, from across the street, who is a poet and academic interested in landscape, ecology, environment, and place. Her single author poetry publications are with various publishers, really, just to mention a few: Shearsman, Etruscan, and Guillemot Books. Her academic essays appear in book collections and journals as diverse as Chicago Review, Sociologia Ruralis, Critical Survey, Classical Receptions, Jacket 2, and Journal of Eco-Criticism. She's collaborated and exhibited widely with the artist Judith Tucker, and their artist books together are published with Wild Pansy Press. She's also the editor of The Ground Asland, an anthology of radical landscape poetry. This was a book which came out in 2011. It's kind of like a seminal work by now for eco-poets by Shearsman. Special features on eco-poetics for How to and Plumwood Mountain, and on cross-multi-inter transdisciplinary practice for Green Letters. She's also a professor of eco-poetry and poetics at Sheffield University. And just on a personal note, it's interesting that, as far as I can remember, both Angelina and Harriet read right before the lockdown. And now you're reading right sort of after the lockdown. So we'll see what you've been up to in between as well. So that's all from me. I'm only going to come back to the mic at the end of the event. We are being recorded, so just you're aware of that. And here we go. Angelina.
I think if I thought I was going to be recorded, I'd have done my hair or lipstick maybe. Okay, so it's a really long time since I have done this. I think the last time was about a month before the first lockdown, and I read from the pamphlet that came out from Longbarrow. And so it never really had its proper launch. When I did that reading, I thought how much time we put into working out what order to put things in for publication, and then we come and do a reading and we muddle it all up. So what I did at that time was I said I'd start from the beginning, go as far as I could in the time that I had. So that's what I did, and I think it worked well. I didn't ask what anybody else thought, but I think it went well. But I never did get to the end, so that's the plan for today. I'm going to read the last 20 minutes of the pamphlet. The bad news is the first 10 minutes is one poem, but it's a prose poem. It's in lots of different sections, and it weaves through themes of distance and displacement and home. So hopefully it won't be too painful. About the human voice. Telephone. Alexander Graham Bell once said of the telephone, "Someday, every town will have one. I have 3. My UK number, a local one, and a work phone. And I have never needed my phone more or wanted it less. I could have given up my old number, should have, probably. A chance to weed out all the numbers I never call, that never call me. I guess I'm not ready to disconnect. But it makes me forget sometimes that I am here and not there where you are." In An Affair to Remember, Cary Grant and Deborah Carr visit his grandmother, who lives in a gorgeous little house cut out of the cliffs, overlooking the Mediterranean. Almost entirely isolated, it is where I imagine living one day. I would be completely there and need to be nowhere else. I won't need or want a telephone, except sometimes. Silence. In The Guardian recently, there was an article about a man who broke into a church to pray. Here, the silence creeps into me, a bit like the cold, and into that silence I bring all that is not okay with me. Silence and time. August Kleinzahler said technology, as well as being fabulous, has limited our need, and so maybe our capacity for thinking, memory, association. That it has created a culture of distraction. Sometimes when I listen to music, it's because I don't want to be left alone with what is not okay with me, with thinking and memory. If I'm to get any sleep, I want the distraction. Frank Sinatra's In the Wee Small Hours is a good bet. His version of I Get Along Without You Very Well is not as painfully beautiful as Nina Simone's. She has a way of singing and playing piano as though those two elements are only barely holding together, like Virginia Woolf's Spider's Web. And you pay attention, fearing that there's too much felt for such fragility to endure. You can't listen to this for any other reason than for its own sake. If you want to sleep, Frank is lovely. And there's nothing wrong with lovely. Of course, I'm up at 4 a.m. comparing these two tracks, because technology. Distance. Hey, I like your observation about distance. Distance in time often appears to create a clarity that wasn't available in the present. The theory goes that our conscious mind, in the moment, is making sense of our actions rather than determining them, creating a story of self and the illusion of decision-making. Have you seen the episode of House, where a guy's had his corpus callosum severed, so his right brain hemisphere and left can't communicate? The guy can't read the instruction stand up because it's on the left side, controlled by the right brain. But his language centre is in the left brain. So instead of reading it, he actually stands up. He doesn't know why, but when asked, he says it's because it's cold and wants to fetch a jumper. His brain has told him a story to make sense of his action. We rely on memory to make sense of the present. You can't piece together a broken statue head if it isn't laid down in your memory what a head looks like. To some extent, what we see is what we've seen before. What we gain from distance, perhaps, temporal and spatial, is the ability to construct a narrative out of the whole mess of crap. Merry Christmas, Angelina. Silence. Silence and time and lighting candles. I do this. The Guardian writer talks about sitting with God, but I'm there with myself, on the pew I remember sitting on as a child, in the church where I took my first communion, or as often along the creek in Castleton, with a little window selling Bradwell's rum and raisin. I'm not sure I like rum and raisin, but it sounds dangerous. I think I'd always choose it. And if I don't believe in a continuous soul, I'm grateful for the illusion, for the story that lets me make sense of myself. Peak Cavern. Stood facing the cavern's black mouth with the last blue rays snagged on limestone, I look up at the crevice nests, feathers flickering in the wind. I stand a long time, till the light that offered something like courage is snuffed, the moment gone with the fleeing birds. Melastoma, purple flowers. If you eat the fruit, turns your tongue black. Melas from the Greek for black, stoma the Greek for mouth, melastoma. That's what it's like to confess. Have you ever made something up just to say to the priest? Walked him through some blacklit story of covert and names in vain? And how long has it been since your last confession? Right there, in the corner of some backstreet cathedral, tea-light bidding prayers blowing in the sanctified cross breeze, there between the Virgin and a copy of Cathod Weekly. But all that forgiveness. Facing the cavern's black mouth, I flake halfway through the Our Fathers to keep from being absolved. Telephone. On what would have been Chopin's 60th birthday, all the major philharmonic orchestras from the Royal Society to Vienna programmed an evening of music so that each would play the minute waltz at precisely 7 p.m. GMT. Alexander Graham Bell was in the audience in London in order to play some of Chopin's most intricate pieces, 2 pianos were required on stage. As the first pianist warmed up, Bell noticed the second piano vibrate. Struck by the beauty of the 2 pianos vibrating across space, and less literally, across Europe, Bell wondered about the human voice, how wonderful it would be. Distance. Almost a century later, the composer and pianist Raymond Scott hoped of a time when there would be no need for musicians, only the composer, sitting on stage, able to think his creation directly into the minds of the listeners, untouched and therefore unspoilt by the mediation of players. Not a people person, Kleinzahler says. To have what you wanted to say heard and understood, as you meant it to be heard and understood, that's the dream. Unless it isn't. What if we only had Hoagy Carmichael on stage thinking out his perfect, only, unmediated version of I Get Along Without You very well, except sometimes? In one of my favourite Kleinzahler poems, A History of Western Music, Chapter 4, Father Castell develops his clavecin for the eyes. And 20 years later, on the 21st of December, 1755, the day of St. Thomas, patron saint of the incredulous and harpsichord, the learned Jesuit who had out an invitation to 50 persons of rank, some from abroad, lighted not less than 100 candles. The father demonstrated, in a mere half hour of playing, the marvel of his creation, that when C is heard, blue will be seen, when red is seen, E will be heard. In the second part of the poem, Clavecin for the Journey, Megren, not content with the father's pretty divagations, aspired to sit down at his instrument and illuminate the entire map of the world. Clouds he would colour myrrh, sometimes crimson, or for variety an agate or pigeon neck. Smoke, sails and flags were always blue bice, and castles red lead. Of trees, some he made grass green, others burnt umber. Rome was pale rose and ochre, Brazil was pink and blue and red, like parrots. It's a visual representation of sound, a temporal invocation of place. Megren uses music as Kleinzahler uses words, placing a prism over this world in order to colour it with his playing, visiting any one place only so long as the reverberation of a single plucked string. And the listener and the reader are there in this imagined space, mediated by the musician and poet, and by their own longing to be elsewhere. Confession. Hey. Yes, I read that St. Augustine confessed to stealing pears. His regret was that he'd stolen them without appreciating them, their taste and beauty, that he took them because he could. At least Carlos Williams ate the plums. Did you know in China, the word for pear is the same as the word for separation, that for this reason you should never split a pear with your lover? I confess to spinning a lie about Chopin and his inspiring Graham Bell. The truth's rarely as simple as the stories we tell. I fly home Friday. Feels weird. Angelina. So for a while I did some work in the desert, and that's why this pamphlet is so full of these ideas of distance and displacement and home. And the next two poems bring in aspects of the landscape. The difference in landscape between here and the desert is quite profound and has an effect on you. So, one clear morning after another. I listened to Nina Simone sing that fragile final climb of notes, how she should never ever think of spring. And I'm glad to be where there's no spring or autumn. There are trees, but nothing changes, or nothing changes back, loses its leaves, greens anew. How is it done? When Larkin says the trees are coming into leaf, I see my garden turning green in my absence. Begin afresh, the trees insist. But here each night is like a painting that you can never know and I can never not. Begin afresh. Or do they mean forget? Or do they mean forgive me so I can forget? Have I to not forgive the trees for what I did not blame them in order I be remembered? I have wanted to hear the silver bill resolve his song in the winter trees. Correspondences. I'm thinking about your photographs. Mangoldin thought if she photographed a person or place enough times, she'd never lose them, though it only showed her how much she'd lost. You show me shadows and I'm grateful, though mostly this is avoidance. I write you questions like whether the unreliability of memory is preferable to the fixity of a photograph instead of screaming. The red hibiscus are out. I don't have a photo of this either. 3 deer, running through an oak valley this side of a river. My house is a few miles the other side. My son lives elsewhere. I tried to write you about the hibiscus and the dhow boats drifting into the Gulf, with disco lights and tribute acts singing Hotel California, a second language of catchy refrains, but it always became about love. Did you know in Japan deer can be seen the year through, but in poetry Kono, autumn and melancholy, the stag alone as the sun sets? And why shouldn't I write about love? Sometimes the new moon night is so much like a partial rip in pale blue gauze, I want to eat it. Blue, of course, my young son's favourite colour. I painted the walls of his childhood room Eve Klein blue. Later he asked for black. I want to talk about the blue slate floor in your photo. Have you read Maggie Nelson on this? The Prince of Blue's divine and unbuttoned pants. Once my son started bringing his girlfriend home to stay. To be naked in the room next to my son's room distressed me, as though, to make space for his desire, my own blew out. I misremember the easy sleep of wanting nothing. I've read they're near to tracing a single memory across the brain. I would watch my neural pathway light up as I recollect being held. Or you could paint the way Mr. Blue Sky flickers between lobes, separated from its meanings to me. Carl Sagan said, we're like butterflies who flutter for a day and think it's forever. I'm thinking of coming home. This morning I woke, reciting the words my grandson's mother says to him, holding him close as he cries for no clear reason. You're fine, you're fine, you're fine. I don't know whether the next poem will make any sense to you. I quite like the way that trying to express something is really difficult, and the way language breaks down, the more sort of urgent it becomes. And so if it makes no sense, maybe there's some underlying feeling that comes through within that almost pre-language idea. Fairy tale number 19. It has taken me oak trees belligerent from seed to sapling, to realise. It's taken me oak trees away from home, from honey, away to realise how dance, how disco, how damaged I am. I am afraid of everything, everything. I have been in filigree or figurine since, in furs, in figment, in fleeting or floodlight since I recounted the apple I was suturing and my mouse didn't bless me. And my form lifted to protect his own skitter, which meant I had to go to the cove, and because I was willing to go to the cove to protect, as no one else was protecting me, I was treated like a balanced perversion, a balalaika, like a bagatelle. My dormouse, tender to believe me if I dropped the Charlestons. Long before, I learnt to plant for darlings, to anticipate all the schemes of each deadbeat, to try to mitigate them in how I behaved. I do this, all the tinctures, all the timpanists, obsessively. It's exhausting. Where I was in the desert, there was an apartment block that I stayed in, and when the sun went down and it was safe to go out without melting, you could have like a little wander around the neighbourhood. It was called Al-Sad, and everything was just constantly being rebuilt and changed. And one day you could be driving along a road, and the next day you'd go on that road bent where it didn't bend before. It was all very unsettled and unsettling and amazing. And you could see this building that had been built, this tower block. The tower block's caught fire all the time, but this one was not on fire. So it had been built, and around the outside of it, they'd left remnants of the building that used to stand there. And there was another tower block with the walls just still sort of partially intact, and you could see tiles on the insides of these walls where the gap was between the new building and the old building, where it had been somebody's kitchen. And I really am interested in this idea of haunting and the experience of past and present existing simultaneously. Correspondences. What do you see from your window? Here, an apartment block rises within the footprint of an older home, the interior of a half-bulldozed wall, half mosaics, murals in amber and snapdragon, an archaeology of sorts. Gardens grow out of sand, are tended minute to minute. They seem unchanging. They seem dug over every night and planted new by morning, pricking pretty holes in the always gold light. I am not anxious, only full of butterflies, prettifying the structures of my heart and stomach. I am so lucky to be so pretty inside. Let me tell you about the trees transplanted from Argentina and made to survive. I admire the aspiration of a man-made hill. The way a pearl diver measures time by the lungful, I sit under the neem tree in 50 degrees till just before I pass out. What I really want to show you is the scarring. See how the sea spray begins to rust the flowers. Okay, 2 more poems. We're doing really well. The last 2 poems are very much about sort of that concept of home and the complexity of it and how it is disrupted when you step away from it in ways that I hadn't kind of known, because I'm just a girl from Sheffield. The flight home. The pale folds and erosion of Iranian mountains. It's a solitary thing to look down and see snow so close to the desert. Like a seaside town out of season, to return everything to the familiar. A night of 2-foot snow along the coast, the soft ground giving to your weight. Salt air will reveal sand by morning, but in these minutes before sleep, the world is miraculous and you are safe in its smallness. Let's stay here, call this home. But you didn't stay. In an hour, the curvature of earth will arc blue-orange as you fly through the second where day and night meet. If the plane could hold its speed, you'd live inside this instant, like a thought between words, or what occurs in the space from sight to perception. There will be rain. A perturbation of green-grey rivers and faces. You lent a blue-eyed echo of your own face to the hills, left teeth marks like runes in the limestone. So tell me this. If you saw yourself in the rock formations, what are you afraid of? The profundity of arrival, or its lack, in the light dimmed for descent? Snow has come. A quietness falling on my small house, and the fuchsia that keeps on well into winter. I wasn't there to cut it back or to watch the settling of things. Snow delineates before it covers, so that nothing is absent, nothing ever settles. The calves in the plain, the deer on the moor. Thank you.
Where is it?
Here. Just
shove this round here. Get closer to the mic. Is that better out there in the virtual world? Okay, you have to look at my ear line. That's okay, yeah. Thanks, Aggie, for organising this and for heroic running of this series so many years. It's been fantastic during lockdown, and this is like a blended thing that we're trying out for the first time. So big round of applause. Thank you. So Hotsky. And the first one I'm going to read is Aggie likes a lot. I sent it to her recently, and she sort of liked it. It's a kind of weird sonnet, and it's a poem that's thinking about Shakespeare's sonnets 1551, and Shakespeare's sonnet 50 is about his horse. He rides a horse presumably from London to Stratford, one imagines, but he's groaning about leaving his London lover. And as he's groaning and spurring his poor horse along, the horse just won't go. I'm saying the horse understands my feeling, and whenever I spur my horse, it gives a groan. It's very like the groan of my heart. But it's like it's a great understanding of horses, I think, even whilst it's like hurting it a lot. So this is my tribute to Sonnet 50. Rough it's known, returning this way in those whose steps to very end, where room's too small, freely to say, here's my burden off, my back friend, and the light fails. Woe, you're drawn to hiss me from my saddle. No, that's not you or thee out there either, nor true the joy. The trick's to have just half a mind that speaks from corners of mouths on topics that reveal that they hide the vestiges of sigh and groan and wheedling jaundice side to side. I sway no offence meant, none, watch your speed, clip clop, dully thence, where this voice weeps instead. Weeps need, where this voice weeps need, along the same old tracks returning, now hereon in composed and made, such the core beings there to find in the interstices of slow trails and traces winding from old rhyme. Know this, under elms, pace the feverish beasts, slow and steady to end, plod the race horses to death's wishes. Now go. The rest of it, I'm going to follow Angelina's very good advice and just sort of start a sequence and just carry on until what's happened?
The assistant raising her hand.
Okay. Oh my ball patch. Stop. Oh, God. I didn't normally see that. Okay. Anyway, is this a long sequence of double lyrics? God, what have I done? Can you still see us?
No. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, okay, that's probably better. Is that? Yes, we can. Yeah, everyone's saying yes. That's fine. Don't touch anything.
No, can I just say sometimes at 6 o'clock the building starts shutting down, and then that's why I think it was peeping. So you might have to press to continue the screen.
Okay. All right. So this is kind of a long sequence of double lyrics exploring liquidities of mind and trapped forms of being. And they are, I don't expect you to understand very much of them. They're kind of strange, dreamy poems, including Dreamt Release. I think we're sort of sleepwalking to disaster, really, so I think that's the tone. Night rises from the seas like sheets of dark rain sweeping up across the light, as figures batten down, read Keats, and fumble at their icy coats, dreaming deliverance, visions of waters, cheeks touch in the dance, the breath of lovers. Clouds roll, reveal where heavens meet, in deep blues, spirit riding heights. In shallows, the water gives glass, bright movement. and light to the sand, as rippling forms burgeon, so close, so magnified. Hissing sea sounds, a delicate continuo to the mind, as the tang and the scent salt the skin's world. I find the clouds in the pool's mirrored face, the tides quiet as soft night descends. The lake dreams its way to the sky while winding its time into waves, rippling light, humidity, breaths of fresh air. Blue that loves beams down small mercies under dangerous suns, such that bodies become seas and fluvially, unstructuredly landscaped and free, mind liquefiedly alive. The diver is floating and stares up there beyond sea surface. See, at height, just his depth. She floats there. She's weightless and wispy, serene and dreamy like cloud, as she gazes from air and the blue that God made at the diver down there. There's peace in the translucent air and life in the transparencies. She lifts her great wings and she rises across liminal flows and heat vectors through this cutting air. Freshest mazes of fur far below. Her eyes track the giddy high sense of the scapes and the tactful motions. What tempts for her living spectatorship? Ruffling breezes, she ravishes azure. Own world makes her. It's scripted in paper blending. These spaces stain. Voices careen, spiraling scrawled, scrunched up, minding their own timeliness. Screeds that frown back at you. Terracotta statuettes with unearthed mirrors that stream tattered lights. I try and follow. Their canned singing rises from dark ground that's mine. It's sombre and quiet in the garden. Light flows as the masses shine. Mine dims as the shadows pause and fade. And it's not too late yet. The fanned leaves spin and then ripple while air curls. That song dreams its own double as the stems and fronds gather perspective, the eye made in this space that breathes in all. I found. French lilies smart in the swirl of the dust. What is that veering thing? Lakeside ballads, undercurl love. Water churns text to ink, bubbling in the vortices. Green currents otterbite flesh to a burning. Knees and yews and ooze mesh. There's a flight of the eye. Arriving late to the river, I sing. On stone, table, circle, just out there, strikes the sunbeam. See it slash across slate mosaic. The cat considers the cloud's shadow rush as greens sink to blues. There's tide in the air. Solidifies as transparency where time stops quite still. All motes and gnats caught for this little ever. Hush. It looks like vitreous humour, but feelingness traps every nerve in this perceptual arena. Sights, sensed wit seeds to emotive inwardness. That whirl-green shimmer of wave as the water curls hits right home like love recalled. Remember a shudder as light shapes out line, colour, curve. Candour and discretion glaring at each other with green-blue eyes hold conference with their roaring teams. We'll brook no louche business, lies, distortions, scorn bites. C screams blue murder while D passes notes to ambassadors. News spreads of secrets and blurring and the click of fly cameras. This carapace, this body armed, this stretched skin sports bullet black holes. Across all space, in mirror maimed, you hold her hand while dreaming files. Take a day off, why don't you? Ease your pain, or the fictions, sly, of them and she, feigns clinches in the orange grove, rhymed to connect the war to the souls. It heralds itself in supply to eye-mind, the phenomena complex, its split flow, high, low and high, analysis of forms, and a deep dive to affect, shape, colour, masses, geometric sections, recalled kisses, molasses, wind ruffling through sighs, mergings, light on skin, feminine. Light ripples and drums through the air, assuming the garden's still space. It carries to you for to share meanings, bitter lemon and spice tangy visions, live on the lawn under the oaks. Feel the mauve grey claps of thunder tapping out rhythms, strains on air in patterns difficult to pass. It swoops into being along, wings taut, a beak a clattering, eye in zoom, flurried blur, a song rips across, such predator zesting, while here out on this limb, wind rustles up barn, dabbling lights, green, time-free endlessness. Rhymes sift out leaf language on the tongue. It strikes into sudden, this thing. The bellflower contains and refreshing light. Starburst caraways nod under sentimentally mesh of the gaze. Watch your step, young mad. The surfaces roll. Earth's time course, of course. Image under seal, forgotten a truce. Watch she negotiating lush trees, rocks, whatever's dead and sad. Manner of it live on the fold inwardly, these spaces bereft. Cosmos in your handkerchief. These mild winds scratch away at the wound cleft as the clouds fritillary. Here, now, this. The slumbering well and the just thrown dice, pace yourself slow and temperate cold. The bell chills as all minds sift. It's patterned on that flesh, tattoo rise of snake bites at the red tear. In these armchairs, sensing slew of angels. Is that why they're staring me down? What I do to you, friend, huh? Wallpaper, rose, sighs passionately, the time of day to this silent moon, shining nothing there on the stair. Callous the mind, brooding. Darling, clean that up. The voices sloosh this choric emptiness, falling as red rain drips down on the dash. The radio blinks out and levitates through the ether. Ghosts bite the air. These hands, blue and cold, grasp at solitary. Sing, heart. Time already. Croon the mesh. I might leap forward a bit. The last two poems. Trawler concupiscence, island gestures, newsprint on the levee, while flood signs. Crossroads blast, all hands, the too much. This zone ink heavy, so the boats and beach vaporize the seas. Back to phone the creature. Why shrugs and sighs, huh? up there in skies, in air. Sands, notebook, dome, cloud, as the screen freeze frame shut. Nothing to it, engulf a delight. This the end's only friend. The stop, wild billows. Throat gulp a salt skate where once, sands, all sides. Certainty dissolute to nothing, remnant, wet texty, underwater song, serried dead, the sea rise reaper, nature churning, oh, the islands. It's because I'm here. You look strange to me. That capsized look, that's fresh indigo. The breaths rise and plunge. That ladder leads out of the crush of bodies. Why stare so? The light flickering off the helmets, air thick with shuddering music. It's not what you think. Angels strike attitudes, shimmer, blush. In the ballroom, the damask dims under Klieg lights. They say you're Dutch, can't see. Shutter off the war crimes. Chess is played. On lawns, you'll just clutch at straw men. The bar's closed. Why did we come? Liars clink under stars while you think up rhymes. You do know, don't you, who I am? The soul of the party. Scratch, scratch.
Just double checking this because the online audience is whinging a little bit.
Surely not.
About so
Sound.
yeah.
Does that mean I've got to stay in one place?
No, you're all right.
That's very hard for me to do. Hello, Rue.
Get away from the mic, you have to say.
Take it with me.
Hello.
It's all right. I won't move away from the mic. I'll make the effort to stay by the mic. Hello, Room. Hello, Zoom room. Thanks for having me, Aggie. Again, it's really nice to come here, even if I did get slightly lost. I'm getting here. So I'm going to read 2 10-minute things. One is a 10-minute poem, which is my lockdown poem. So it's about birds. That makes it sound like I'm going to read something very, very cliched. I hope it's not entirely. I was supposed to be doing some writing about birds on the coast, on the Lincolnshire coast, and I couldn't do it because I couldn't go there. So I thought, right, I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk the dawn chorus every morning and write a poem about birds. I also got interested in reading various other poems people have written about birds. And also, I don't know, does anyone watch birds? Anyone watch birds? Does anyone use it? Thank you. Thank you. 2 nice people who watch birds. There are people out there who watch birds, I know that, because I can see them. But anyway, you know the way that people delineate bird sound in bird books, and you're supposed to recognise the bird from the way they describe the sound, and they have these funny little descriptions. So I was really interested in those. So I'm not trying to imitate birds in this poem. I'm actually making the sounds that they put in the books when they try and tell you what birds sound like. April 20, so it's going to take 10 minutes. I'm going to read lots of little things for the next 10 minutes. April 2020, or what is near. Now welcome, summer, with thy song soft that hast this winter's weathers overshake and driven away the longer nighters blake. Bat loops grey-pink dawn as day birds begin. Not one choral voice, but singlings merge, unmerge, nearly too much. Many tones flung up, across, answering, following, catching into static electric sky, shearing, skeeting, churring, 1,000 raspy wires around still windmill. Whirl out separate pigeon echo depths we hear as morning, cockerels wailing lessons, pheasants bursting barks through blue streak clouds, purple rising, voices settling, fading to chime with whinnying horse, tearing grass, wind stirring dead daffodil heads, single plane, just one, tears sound through. But dark-lit blackbird by the window trebles on in lilac and briar, catch in throat, page now visible. Gate opens to mist-edged choppers, stopped cars pulled in aslant, leaves on windscreens, wild ducks quaking sore set the field off, hens cluck calling in waiting run, goose shudders awake, young pheasants foolhardily follow parents, one heads up, cork, 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 into smooth streak flight, all overlaid with thin lit notes of robin pulling worms in violets, chink, 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 alarmed off to wood stack, to sycamore corridor, bowing down outer branches, now lost into bushes, every crossing a possible bird body, wren, chirr, 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 quick brown creep, tail up and gone in time it takes to look, to listen for notes. On ear and ear detects a different air, not field recordings, but spottings in time, at still intervals, to Cadell's next listening point, alert to each other, to our steps, to their twig quiver. Look up to high hawthorn pale bellies of bunting spuggies, darkening into figures of themselves as great tit flutter wings whir, vibrate in her flight away from here. Through weighted rusted gate to climb field, magpies picking over muck spread scatter up through early smoke of unexpected weekday at home. On Cartworth Bank, frost in spreading forget-me-not corners, purple honesty still far from sun across the valley, Clare's bum barrels, 5, no, 7, 8, flicked the lane to hawthorn trees, see, to see, to see, to see, to see, tails balancing, catch fall, inscribed as tiny vowels and consonants, Olson's elements and minims of language, in the unseen skylark's continuous new skein-edged score. And we tell our stories of disappearances. Nature officials grant licenses to kill 40 species if in conflict with human activity. Of returns to skies bluer since, where spirits dwell in air, fall, breathless. Have you anything to say to me? Slip up steep-stepped wood pigeon land, remnant of birch and sycamore, squirrels leap, dip, fantails crack branched air, land low and loud on burnished birches, dizzy against trunks, leaning to catch birds sing concealed in Thompson's vocal woods in spring. His blackbird, bullfinch, jay, rook, daw, here still, but Bronte's linnet trilling its song on the old granite stone, rare now, leaning to catch that splintering song of sprung spurge, tight fiddleheads, bluebell twists waiting budburst by sorrel whites, nettle yellows, variegating under leaves, serrating day on day to canopy over. 3 blue tits bob singing in orison unison from birch to sycamore to rowan heights, flickering out into tops and tips, triplet flight calls without song of guns. Robin flits silver edge crinkled holly either side of fence, protects nests, crosses territories. Whose woods these are, I think I know. Up Arundel, sorry we are closed at kennels, disturbing steps into merge song mist, 2 coltits flicked from oak up Woolton Farm track, sparrows flock from witches' knots, skip crossing lane to bramble break, gulls scatter up from pasture to laird grey skies, pigeon wings clatter against lamb calls, lack, lack, lack of sunlight makes plaintive. Ch-ch-see-see-see goes Benson's titmouse, jagged through bright beeches, yellow, green, ch-ch-see-see-see, yellow, green, yellow, and gone. Sapling stills, leaves float flat, lateral along blind branches, growing minute by minute as pheasant moves his copper gold through last season's leaves and nuts. Have you seen a valley green with spring? Into dark forestry, deep breath of conifer, along low branches, blue-grey flash, nuthatch, running into flight, pushing into pines' resistances, glimpse nests block black branches, sources of voices through wind within tree, echo shifting, flight, rest, spaces, weaves of homely stuff, rims from not to fall. I don't know if you could find these things. Crawling silhouettes, sound out of monochrome into warm colours of humming bees over bilberry flowers by reservoir. Blue tits stripping buds. Pew, 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 bullfinch follows his mate up to telegraph and back to farmyard. It attacks buds of fruit trees. Growers permitted to destroy birds by shooting or trapping their rose-pink bodies rising, their quiet creaking warble low under jays, white, blue, pink, blue, black, startled, crying flight. Heart spinning back over water to woods. My heart is riding on your wings. On green lane, fast, furtive car scares pigeon pair, hovering about their straggling home, built when roads were stilled. Frights up a pair of ducks to loud, grin-scudding, flashing flight onto giant's foot, mine pit once, now meadow pond. Red gold fast flirting finches flit about greening birches, brown blackbirds jump singing wool's length along the ribble, her lad below gives out his best notes we call liquidity. Whistle, pause as heron wings to water, only birds cross over. Earlodes I sing to my lover, our breath together everywhere, pairings, passings, have you anything to say to me? Jackdaws swerve down to Washpit Mill, part raised to rubble, stone heights, towers of flight still stand, the opposite of abandoned developments delay, and they settle, caw louder, mourn the loss of people no wild bird does. That isn't what they say, of course. Scorn letters that can be written, only perhaps by Messiaen, played by Loriod, listening, scoring, fingering a réveil de oiseau, us imitating them like wearing feathers, uncanny reversal of our litanies, all those poems and field guides, even Benson's haunt, nest, eggs, food, notes, her bird lovers' league. Ah, what shall language do, said Thompson in 1728, and still a poem's as absurd as a chorus, as a parliament, as the first cuckoo of spring I never heard, the one that's prized because she seems to say a word. Coming home, a siskin sits on elder at the bend of the road, ruffling her feathers, singing a clear song. It's a bit sort of romantic for what I've been doing recently, but I just thought. So mainly what I've been doing and what I've been reading online is Endlessly, which is why I felt like reading that one, are these little cut flowers. So I'm going to read you a few of those, and they are like this. So, what am I doing? Yeah, okay. Hello, people over there. Hello, people over here. One long line, two columns, one word. That's how they're structured. And you can read them three ways. I'm not going to read them three ways. And I'm not going to read any of the ones in the book because that's been published, but I've written about 80 of them. I've sort of got obsessed with them. So 50 of them are in that book. And I'm 30 into the next book. Actually, I think I'm more like 40. I don't know if I need to tell you anything else about them. No, I'll read them each twice so that you get a chance to hear how they're playing around with the line structure, which is a sort of fun structure that those of you who are learning creative writing might like to play with. Apparently they've tried it in Bangor. Do you know rowan, the rowan tree is also the name for a form of outdoor wear? That's the beginning of the first one. Is that a company or the tree? tell you in the real. Rowan flowering forestry over and done, longing except this for water, weird form, listening apple tree adopted me, neither except and also nightjars. Is that a company or the tree? Tell you flowering longing for listening, me nightjars. Tree handles we hold or pleach in turn die back. The blood never forsook the rose and the linty o, shredding themselves into parts of others, communion, contagion, ashes, into avenue or tunnel, unright at the tips, just touching. Tree handles we hold or pleach in turn forsook, O shredding others' ashes, untouching. Turn down volume before playing memory. Earlodes heard siskins, willow warblers, goldfinches mainly. Loki move over, ghosts convalescent suns. Let's go, Gunner grim, as call it, Gothic, a flourish. Turn down volume before playing memory. Siskins, goldfinches, ghosts. Let's call it a flourish. There's quite a lot of lines from folk songs in these. This sort of strange things that happened to me in lockdown as I started listening to old folk songs that I knew. So I don't know if anyone knows any of those lines, like The Rose and the Olympio, and other songs, other bits of music as well. Here's another one that you probably will know. Coots, when they're very young, they can't cross over wide water. The water, it's wide. Years are places now. My mother said it was the dregs of music. Welcome, welcome fish in the flood. Draw it mild, deep and meaningless down. Coots, when they're very young, they can't cross over. It's wide, my mother, music in the deep down. I leaned my back against an oak, labouring lark in weak rain, bright sun lined with the things you don't show. Dig out, dart, welcome, bird in the wood. Nought wrong with roses. First it bent, and then it broke. I leaned my back against an oak, labouring sun don't welcome nought. First it broke. Every start a false start in language. Online, on the line, in the wet car park, been coming here 50 years. The slab, wall, bench, rest, place, stumbling into the most of it, quickly, walks quietly along edges, drops most shining out, ling, least expected. Every start a false start in language. Online car park, the slab, stumbling walks, most expected. Thank goodness for street furniture. He was confirmed expert, furious, drove the car at us, sorted out mother's spitting effects, dashing in window, not dashed, leaned curb against she, not you, crawler. Thank goodness for street furniture. He was furious at us, spitting in window, curb crawler. Probably has equipment which I do not. I should, she doesn't know, have a ring of complexity, have tranquilments, mother's metal, old horse brasses, carriage return. Don't dilly-dally on the way to town. Is it still there, the scene? Probably has equipment which I do not. I should, though, have metal, return to scene. There's quite a lot of sort of COVID-y stuff going on in here, as there were in those poems of Adams, but this is probably the most COVID-y one and expresses the sort of frustrations maybe that we all felt. Can't see or decode most of their icons. Give it a shove. Touch less where you can. Cough into your elbow. Swipe right, hand tearing right on the one you want, squiddling from one foot to the other. Can't see or decode most of them icons. Touch, cough, swipe, right squiddling, other. Turn the TV down, will you? Want me to go right? Left, trackless rush, more hurry system, all those doors I don't go in anymore. Library, theatre, flicks, anywhere. Rains, leans back on wall under ring road. Rain. Turn the TV down, will you? Want me less? All in, flicks back rain. That one actually recalls a derive that I took the students on in a desperate attempt to actually see them a bit during lockdown when we couldn't see them on the in the campus, and it rained the entire time. But they were so desperate that we all just carried on, even though most of the time we were under a motorway bridge. Right, I'm should do my last couple, yeah? I've lost track of time, of course. Right, last two. I so wanted to go breathing again. Stop me dead on the dance floor. Absent apostrophe, turned down the volume before playing. Ripped up any book with my name. People talked about bright hours, sunlight's power to grow a fragrant summer chamomile chasm. I so wanted to go breathing again. Stop me dead, apostrophe, before book, about to grow chasm. This whole structure came down, but slowly, dust first, still hanging on falling, then line by line, or frames loosening from walls, built around a pole or poem, strut back beyond trunk into smothering life, alive-o. This whole structure came down, but slowly, on falling frames, built poem trunk, alive-o. Thank you.
I think I find inspired more hopeful with you. Thank you, Harriet. I just love the doubling of the little text. Can you just quickly say why? What's behind it? No. So what's the?
It just came to me, and now I can't stop doing it. But basically, they become a bit like a Sudoku. You know, you're just playing with them and trying to make them work, but not work too much, because in a way, the whole point is they're a bit destructive. So they're just really fun to do in a way. But to be honest, it's a bit like a journal, but hopefully so oblique that no one can work out what's going on. So I just do them all the time, and some of them are good and some of them aren't. You know.
No, you can only do that with short text, though.
Yeah. Don't you try it, not with yours.
That's what I was kind of referring to.
Completely mad.
Anyway, thank you so much, Angelina, for the beautiful reading, Adam as well, and Harriet for all the three amazing readings. I thought of putting the three poets together because I just thought it was going to be quite a mesmerizing and relaxing little entry to the year, but Adam's managed to jazz it up a little bit. So thank you. Before I actually switch the camera off, the recording, can I just also say a huge thank you for those who turned up today, because I know we are still feeling a little bit apprehensive about the whole situation and being sort of inside. But so it was really lovely of you to turn up, and hopefully I wasn't expecting this many of you to come, so that's absolutely brilliant, and it makes me feel personally a lot better as well. We thought it was just gonna be me, Harriet, Adam, and Angelina in the room. So thank you so much for supporting the event, and hopefully you'll come again. You'll be brave enough to turn up again. So the next event, very quickly, I'm just going to rush through the dates so you know what to expect, but you must have seen the program. It might change slightly, and we might add a couple of other events, but the core events will be next week, which is actually not postgraduates, but PhD and alumni writers. Kind of affiliated to our various programs in creative writing. Same time, same place, except on Wednesday. So next Wednesday, and then the big prose event or fiction event. Except I think we're going to ask the writer to read from poetry as well as Mona Archie. Do you know her work, Harriet, at all? So that will come with other stories. Stefan Tobler, and then that's the 17th of November. I will try and make sure, particularly for the sake of our students, that we have a bit of poetry as well as prose. And then the next event is the 24th of November with just a solo reading with Denise writing, and then we'll mainly for geographical reasons or obstacles we've managed to pin down Alice Knockley for the 6th of December, and there should be still another event which might sort of crawl over into the new year, run by Adam as well, with the Royal Fisher Archive things. And we've got lots of further plans for the new year as well. So do kind of come and be here, because I think it's just, frankly, I was thinking, it's really just quite lovely to be back to normal-ishness. So thank you also to the online audience. Half of the Piette clan was part of them, and again to you, and again once again to Angelina D'Roza, Adam Piette, and Harriet. Sure. If any announcements, I mean, Harriet is going to kick off with something about tomorrow.
Yeah. So it'd be great. Sorry. So yes. Oh God, I got to announce it to the Zoom people. I could announce it to the Zoom people because actually it's going to be on Zoom if we could do the technical stuff. But I sent around a bit of paper. I don't know if there are enough for everybody, because I assumed, like Aggie, that people would be lurking at home and not be here. But it's a really great event.
It's the direct
tomorrow night for the Poetry and Clever Anthology. We've got some really good readers that's down at the Performance Lab in Sheffield, and you're all incredibly welcome. So you can either go and sign up for it on Eventbrite, or actually, if you just give me your name tonight, I can just add you to the guest list, because to be honest, all I'm going to do is download the names from Eventbrite. And obviously, if you're here, you're bona fide and very welcome. But we do have a whole series of readings too. So when they don't clash with your readings, you're very, very welcome to come. And I do tend to send them on to Aggie and Adam, because we've got our two amazing creative writing running, side by side in the same city, and we ought to kind of, go to see each other's amazing things. I shall certainly be trying to come to some of those ones that Aggie was talking about next. But yeah, do come tomorrow night if you fancy. Thanks.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything to say or announce or ask questions, or it's kind of informal? I'm going to switch the camera off now. I'm in the recording. Otherwise, this is the end of the evening, and you can do what Sam Lefkin used to call awkward mingling. I've inherited that term, and I just keep using it. So otherwise, I don't know. Are we going for a quick drink, or?
I think we can't have a reading without
a quick drink. So thank you all. Okay, so I'm going to thank you. What are you doing with your boardness? You've got to cut it off. You went completely hysterical.